And then he gets up and he's bleeding from the mouth, and he goes like this. First blood. 40.6 million was the final figure. Pulls the false teeth out and puts them in his mouth.
Oh,
You ever ridden a 500? And I'm like, no, Kelly, no, I was 250 mainly. He says, well, you're going to ride one tomorrow, you asshole. Best thing to tell Foggy is, the job's fucked.
This week's chat is absolutely fascinating. As a former 250cc British champion, this man went on to become Kenny Roberts' test rider for his Grand Prix team, before returning to the British Superbike paddock to manage the Revé Red Bull racing team. From there, he was involved in the inception and management of the Foggy Petronas WorldSBK team, an incredibly fascinating chat that dovetails beautifully with the stories from Big Jack a couple of weeks ago. That's Nigel Bosworth. This is Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast.
Nigel Bosworth, welcome to Off Track. How are you, mate? Nice to see you.
I'm very well, thanks, Dave. Good to see you as well.
Thank you,
fella.
Thank you for inviting us down. It's a beautiful day in sunny Leicestershire. We've made it this far south.
We nearly good enough to sit outside, Dave.
We did consider that. I mean, we did consider sitting outside and doing our first outdoor podcast of the season, but then we thought, no, maybe not. We'll just do it.
It'll end up start raining or something. It'll be a disaster.
Tell us about your history, Boz.
I've forgotten all about those, you know. Forget my history. I suppose it's. I guess I've blagged it from the start. I think is probably the best, the best way, an honest way of describing it. Nothing was planned. I fell into everything that I did by pure accident, I guess, to a degree, and I've been in the right place at the right time to a certain extent. But I guess it all started when I got. Banned from riding my brand new LC 250 that I'd just signed up for HP for on my £21 a week apprentice wages, and within 2 weeks I got banned for reckless riding, and I was staring at this 250 LC in the garage thinking, what can I do with it? And Mallory Park, it's not far, and every Wednesday they have a motorcycle test day, so I thought I'll go there. So I rode it there, although I was banned. I rode it there and did a load of laps, and just absolutely, the first time on the track, loved absolutely everything I did that day. It was I remember it to this day. It was fantastic. And a chap came along after I put my number plate back on, and he said, have you done Mallory before, fella, and all that sort of stuff? I said, no, it's the first time I've done it. And he says, well, I'm watching you around Gerrard's, and I put the watch on you, and you'd have won the race there last week at Mallory Park. And I'm like, what are you on about? He said, no, you'd have gone that lap time, you'd have won the race. And I said, well, how do you start racing? I mean, I didn't have a clue. So he said, well, I'm kind of a bit of a marshal cum sort of admin guy for Mallory Park, so I'll get you sorted. So he got me all sorted, he got me licence and all that sort of stuff, and got me novice coat, and off I went, and I did was it British Formula Club or something, right? I can't remember. It wasn't Bempsey, it was something like that. Anyway, did this race, and I won 3 out of 3. So is a novice, the worst thing that could have happened to me, really, because now I'm thinking, you know,
chest goes out
on the daddy until the next race, which was at Cadwell Park, and I've never been to Cadwell Park before, and it was just a completely different motorcycle track, and I entered 3 races. And I didn't manage to complete 1 lap, so that's how bad that was. So it went from being up here to down.
That's a tough learning. That's a learning curve and a half, isn't it?
Extremes, if you need.
Well, mind you, Mallory to Cadwell, you couldn't find 2 different circuits, especially Mallory at the time.
I fell off getting to the circuit because you come out of the collection area, don't you, at Cadwell, top of the mountain. But this was a club circuit, so you don't turn left, you turn right. Go down the mountain, onto the hairpin, that little club hairpin, and up towards Charlie's.
Yeah.
Well, I went out to the top of the mountain and crashed going down the mountain. So it was like, because I didn't expect the mountain to be there. So it was really bizarre. And then that was practice. So then after practice, we didn't get the bike fixed in time for the next practice session. So the first race came. You pull. Those days you pull your grid position out of the hat. Pulled out grid 1, so I'm on the front row of the grid. Not a clue where I was going, and going down to the hairpin fell off. Going down to the hairpin, and then second race fell off coming out the hairpin.
All right.
So I managed to get around the hairpin.
And then woodland hairpin, wasn't it?
Yeah, woodland hairpin.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And then the third one also fell off at the hairpin. So
it's a baptism of fire, that, Boz.
It's not.
I've not had a story like that as an introduction to racing before.
Well, it wasn't what I wanted. I was expecting for sure.
It didn't put you off though, did it?
No. I mean, I just loved it. You know, it was like it was from being on the road and riding daft on the road, because we did. From the village we were in, Stoke Aldham. At the time, on LC 250s, we had, must have been 12 lads in the village, all had LC 250s, and we were nuts. You know, we were just absolutely, and we were crashing, and we were breaking legs, and we were busting arms, and all sorts of stuff. And you know, being banned was a gift, I think, because then I never wanted to ride a motorbike on the road again, and I didn't until about 10 years ago now. So, but yeah, it went from there really. We just a mate joined me from the village. We went racing, and we bought an old Bedford CF van, and we just chucked the bikes in the back. It was brilliant, you know. We did the Marlborough Clubmans that year, and you know, I led it up till the very last race, and but it was brilliant, you know, fantastic. And then one thing led to another. You know, you think, actually, this is all right. I'm pretty good at this. I could go to the next level, and so on. So that's how it just evolved, really. Then, so
we're never going to see those days again, are we?
No, I mean, you think about it. You look at some old programs, and look at the entries. Wow, there were probably 70 LC 250s, and then probably 70 350 LCs, and that was one club that weekend. There was probably 6 club races that weekend, you know, all around the country, all have a similar entrance. And the amount of talent that must have been going through those clubs, and the amount of lost talent, you know, I mean,
100%.
Some of the lads I used to race with were just nuts, but they just didn't have everything else. This is what I learned as well. You needed so many elements to be successful. And no one tells you in those days. Nowadays, there's all sorts of help and support. It's amazing. I mean, in my situation, you look back at most successful racers. Their first reason why they got into bikes. My dad was into bikes, or my dad was a racer, or you know, that sort of stuff. Well, my dad had died by the time I started racing, so there was no influence from my dad. My mum was adamant to get me off a motorbike, and that was another story. So when I got banned, Mum was happy with that. But then she saw the local paper the week after I'd won the 3 out of 3 races, and that's the first she knew about it.
No.
Yeah. So she's open. Oh, Inkley Times. So she's writing on the back, you know, novice wins 3 out of 3.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And so my mum, that's
where you weigh up the pros and cons, isn't it? And it's like, well, actually, he's got something.
Well, yeah, my mum said then, look, okay, so obviously this is now the route you're going to go. Let's do it properly. So she went and bought me some good leathers and some, you know, a good helmet, good quality, all that sort of stuff. So she helped the best she could, you know, and that's. But like I said, no one guided you through that. It was a minefield, you know. What, as a kid, as a 17-year-old kid, which direction do you go? And that was the toughest part. And mate, you know, you go down the wrong route plenty of times, and you drag back and start again. But
that's how you gain experience, though, isn't it, and knowledge.
I think, yeah.
There's not too many make the wrong decision these days, and you don't get the experience of going, right, okay, so I've learned from that now.
Yeah.
and then you apply that to something else. So who's your biggest? Was Mum the biggest influence in your early career?
Yeah, definitely, because that was all I had really. So it was, and she was, and I was all she had to a point. So it was the only way that, we either do this together, and she did. She helped as best she could. I mean, didn't like it, hated it, but she'd help me financially as best she could. She'd even cut out my numbers, because she cut out your numbers in those days. You would, she'd sit there cutting out numbers for me. Because each club race was a different number.
Yeah, there's none of this.
So she had a pile of number
days.
ones, number twos, number threes, and she always my number. She looked at my entry. Oh, your number 34. There you go. It's number 34. So
what a great way to start.
She could do. She did what she could do. Yeah. And then stuff like she'd turn up at the event and she'd have homemade cake and some, a flask of tea and that sort of thing, So, but then at 17 it was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it?
Bringing your mum racing.
Yeah, but what I did in the end, I put. It was a bit of a laugher. I put "sponsored by Mum" on my tank, and loads of people, thought, well, that's a nice gesture and all that sort of stuff, and it was really, because it was. She enjoyed it, She had a good time.
What a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Mum.
Sponsored by Mum, yeah.
Because you were.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. That's the only sponsor I had at the time.
When was the point that you took the next step?
Well, it was a long road.
Mum,
it was a long road, really, Dave, because it wasn't, sudden at all, because I wanted to go open class, so at that time it was 250 GP bike, that was I'd go to Mallory sometimes, race of the year, and that sort of stuff. You'd sit for hours in the paddock just watching people put a 250 together, or 500 at the time, that sort of stuff, two strokes, and I'd dream about being able to own one and ride one. And I got sponsored by a local guy, John Bull, his name, and he was okay, but again, over promised, under delivered. Would do X, and it was like from going from nothing to year one to year two. Sponsored 250 GP bike, some spares and stuff like that. But I had to run it myself, and that was hard work, because I couldn't afford to do it. I went round all the local sponsors, all the local companies in here, and I had a plan, because I needed £10,000 to go racing for that year, and I needed £6,000 for the bike, and I couldn't get it. I got the 4, but I hadn't got the 6. So I needed 6. So I went round with all the various people around this local company saying, look, if you buy my bike for me for £6,000, I'm going to go and win loads of races on it.
It's the right thing to say.
And then at the end of that year, so like a deferred payment, I'll pay you back the £6,000 plus interest, because I'll sell the bike. And the bike, because it's won more races, will be worth more. So, and people looked at me like, he's fucking mad, this bloke. So I don't know him from Adam. He's walked in, he wants and £6,000 in those days was probably, I don't know, 60 grand today. I don't know, but anyway,
definitely a lot more.
A lot more, yeah. So eventually, one bloke said, "Yeah, I like it. I like your cheek for a start, and your confidence. So I'll do it. We'll do it. We'll have a little contract." And we'll do it. Okay, brilliant. So I bought this brand new TZ250S. And when it came in a crate, got delivered on the drive, and we just sat, me and my mate, a mechanic, we sat round looking at it, and we cut a little hole in the cardboard, and we like looking like that. It took us a day to open this thing. It had a little graphic kit with it, and spares kit and everything. It was fantastic, this thing. Beautiful mobile. Anyway, I went out and, I met when Mackenzie and McLeod on the Silverstone Armstrongs. You'd got Kev Mitchell, Mad Dog Mitchell. You've got Andy Watts, Tony Head, Pete Hubbard. Who else was there? There was Steve Chambers, Kim Barker, Paul Tinkler. Oh, when he went, Alan Carter. When he went down you're like shitting yourself. You think, Jesus, I'm not.
Well, they were the names, weren't they?
All massive names, And I'm like, anyway, it went really, really well, like beyond my imagination, to the extent where I beat Mackenzie and McLeod on the Silverstone Armstrongs, which no one did at all that year. No one got nowhere near them. Those lads were doing Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So they'd come back to do British Championship because it was Silverstone. They had to do it for Silverstone purposes. And they were on Grand Prix Rotax engines, and they were fast as anything, these things. But one thing they couldn't do, which played into my hands, was they couldn't start them because it was push start.
Yeah.
It wasn't clutch start, it was push start. And on this TZ, if you got it set up right, which we did, you could sit on it and you literally one push and bang, you were out. And I was out. I was shotting every single weekend. and old Donnie and Neil were at 45 degrees pushing this motor, trying to get a thing started. And by the time they got going, I was in turn 3. So it was really quite an advantage. They were constantly chasing me every race they were. Halfway through that year, Pete Hubbard was having a nightmare of a season with his Keppel Rotax. So Terry came to me and said, "Look, Boz," and it didn't work out for us, but I've got a load of sponsors based through his company that were part of the sponsorship with Pete. Can you put them on your bike and I'll pay you? I said, yeah, of course you can. Yeah, no problem. So because at the minute I'm still bankrolling it myself.
Yeah.
Me and my mum bankrolling it, and yeah, so he came, bungs us a chunk of money, and we had a great season from that point on. And then Terry sponsored me then for a long time after that. But it came come the end of the year, so I'm now got a £6,000 debt plus some, and I say to Terry, told him the story. So that's no problem, boss. He says I'll buy it. So he paid the.
What was the biggest thing you learned in that time that took you forward?
Dedication, commitment, because you have to, the commitment you have to give, because it's you're not just riding a motorbike for 45 minutes a couple of times a weekend. You're looking for sponsors, you're training, you're building the bike, you're engineering the bike, because you've got to get this thing quicker. It's not just building it as a normal. You've got to get some exhaust pipes made, try them. You've got to go to a dyno and get them tested. You've got to go try different deck heights because of the two strokes, different revalve cages, different pedals, suspension, brake, all that sort of stuff. You're constantly looking for advantages all the time. And so then at the same time, then you've got to get your entries done, and you've got to get, when you get to the event, you've got to do all the prep, set the awning up, set the tent up, whatever you had at the time, that sort of stuff. So it was 100% and more live and breathe motorcycle racing. And that taught me, that passion and dedication taught me, if you carry that through into other parts of your life, then you're going to do all right. So at that point, I was a model maker working for a design company and loving it. It's a great job, but I wasn't going to get anywhere with that, because I was always going to be a model maker, because I didn't have any qualifications. I was good skill with the hands, making stuff, but I couldn't put some sort of proposal together for any sort of commercial advantage, things like that. But anyway, that aside, doing all that you did to go racing, and it was subconscious. You weren't planning to do that. You just knew you had to do it to get to the next stage or the next race or whatever. And that taught me so much, and I carried that on through into other things I did. And I think if you can do that, you're going to be successful because of that whole commitment.
What are your best memories of those days? Before you made it into the next stage of British Championship contention.
The best memories were the year in Marlborough Clubman's, because it was, you come from this little village and you'd done nothing all your life except go out and push bikes with your mates and cause havoc in the village, piss people off in the village. To go out meeting people from Simo from Scotland, meeting Gordon Allett, Kurt Langham from Doncaster, Eddie Baldazar from London, all these superb, talented riders who were really, really good at what they did. But the characters were fantastic. And the things they got up to are like, really? You can't do that. But you could. And they did.
The whole point.
And that camaraderie and that group of friends, you were so excited to get to the next race, you know, because you come home, the week couldn't go quick enough. It's a shame it ended, but you know, a lot of people wouldn't want to end it, and they'd carry on the next year, do the same, because it was their life, you know. It was a circus going around each year, and they didn't want to go to the next level like I did. They'd miss all that, and you did, because it started getting serious then.
That's when the dedication becomes even more.
Yeah.
When you're taking that step up and you're racing against Paget's and people like that, and they're putting these incredible Grand Prix machines, virtual Grand Prix that you could turn up to a Grand Prix on.
Yeah, like Stilson Armstrong.
Like they did, same thing. And then you go to that next level. But I find those early days really fascinating. Because a lot of the listeners and viewers, some of them are a little bit younger. It's as I remember it as a kid in the early 80s and the late 70s.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, we speak to Roger Marshall on a regular basis, and Reg has got some great.
He can't be on this, can he?
The Emperor, he dials it down.
Does he?
He dials it down.
He's got to.
When did the decision come then to step up to what was then British 250 Championship?
Yeah, well, I did it in '86. I was doing British Championship with Mackenzie and all the other lads, McLeod. But then at the end of '86. There was a European Championship at Donington, and I'd entered that with sort of hope of qualifying, and I won it. So it was like, you know, Jean-Philippe Rougier, Pierre Francisco Keeley, Fausto Ricci, well, all, you know, you can keep going.
Good
and they were all there, and I won it. And so it was like, well, I've got to go European Champion racing now. And it was probably a bit of a period where I'd bitten off more than I could chew, I think, because it was, you know, I won my home race, and it all made sense to go, you know, go off European Championship race. And that's the next level. And I'd got this vision then, purely because it made sense, because I'd won at that level. I thought we'd go and win the European Championship, because that'll be easy, and because I've just proved I can win a race, and then we go to Grand Prix, and then, you know, then I'm there, I'm in where I want to be, and I can just crack on with doing World Championship. Nah, it didn't work out, didn't it?
Why not?
Well, you know, you go to, so for example, you go to, of all places, Salzburg, which is like, Jesus, it's horrible, unbelievable place to watch, but you've got no chance if you fall. If you crash there, no chance at all. But anyway, and it's a lot of wide open throttle, and I'm on a TZ250 standard motorbike, and all these bikes that are turning up are all, you know, Grand Prix race bikes, and you're just getting destroyed. And the odd occasion when you go somewhere like Assen, where you can make a bit of time up by, you know, cornering and braking and all that sort of stuff, you could get a result, you know. So I did a season in the European Championship, and I got beaten up, to be fair. Got a few, I think I got a third at Jerez or something like that. But yeah, it was hard work, and then in the following year I thought, well, let's go the way everyone else is going. We'll go for an Aprilia. You know, that was the first thing that came out, and we just didn't know how to run it. Just weren't good enough on mechanically, and it would seize up and it would break down, and it was a long, hard learning curve, I guess. And eventually, what you find is, as well, at the time, all the importers, the manufacturers and sponsors would wish you well into European championships, etc., but they wouldn't help you. So you'd end up.
They couldn't see the return because there wasn't really the coverage, wasn't there? The coverage wasn't there.
No, it was for all. You know, now as a commercial, on a commercial level, you can understand it, because they've got their marketing team and their budgets to promote bikes selling here, not in France or Germany. So they just. But when I decided to come back to the UK, they welcomed you with open arms. You know, so Andy Smith Yamaha UK, lovely bloke, my hero and a great friend, said, Boz, if you're coming back to the UK, there's 2 bikes, there's spares kit, there's a budget, and you come and do it. And it wasn't a difficult choice in the end.
No.
And I came back, and it was that era with Hizzy, Carter. It got Kev Mitchell. Who else was there? Woolsey Coulter, Mara Brown. He came on the scene. Little shit. He came on the scene. Who's this twat coming around? Jesus, he's fast. Newts, yeah, Ian Newton was on it. There's a lot. If you look down the list, it's just endless of people now. Yes.
And Walker was a bit later. Surf,
yeah, he was always there.
Nicky,
Coates,
Coatesy,
yeah, Coates was there. McManus
as well. Yeah. Woolsey Coulter, yeah.
Woolsey Coulter, top lad, Woolsey Coulter, brilliant. Oh, Gary Cowan. Everyone forgets Gary.
They do,
Cowan,
yeah.
But they shouldn't, because he would have been world champion. My God, he was
incredible talent.
Yeah, awesome talent. Such a sad situation that happened to him. But anyway, he was awesome, Gary. And and I came back to that world, and it was so hot. The pace was unbelievable. And me being out in Europe, it's like when you play football or squash or another sport, you can belt up some one partner into the ground, and then you go and play someone who's better than you, and you get destroyed. but you raise your game, don't you?
100%. Yeah,
and that's what happened in Europe. I raised my game, came back to UK, and it was like, oh, you bugger. It was a good time. We got the TV come on board then. I think it was Super Cup then. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 250 ACU 250 Super Cup.
That's it. Yeah. So we got a lot of TV, and it was good. We'd make a bit of dough out of it. This was probably the time now where I was actually starting to make a bit of money out of it, and there were people who were willing to sponsor, etc. So it was a good time. Did that for probably 4 years. As being competitive. Yeah, I think I look back now. I think I was only competitive really, probably for 4 or 5 years. When I could bang in lap times that were that record pace. No one fazed me. I got challenged. I'd challenge back and that sort of stuff. So I'd learnt the ropes by then, and I was confident in my own ability. We'd got a good team of people. We'd got Trevor Smedley doing the engine tuning. He was a legend. Trevor was a lovely bloke. Not with us anymore, unfortunately, but just an absolute genius with engines. And I was lucky enough to be one of his riders, because he would only choose 1 or 2 riders a year. A good couple of mechanics, and Martin Bennett, who went on to be working with Superbike and Grand Prix with Kenny Jr. We got the budget, we got the bikes, and it was great. It was life was good. You couldn't fault it at all then. And it was down in it was in your own destiny then. Things would go against you, but other than that, there's no looking back thinking, well, if I'd have got this and that, I'd have done this and that. It wasn't. It was down to me then, and we did what we could, in a really, really competitive period.
I think it was the heyday of 250 racing with that. The heyday of racing for me, and there's a lot of people that I see on social media adore that golden era of 250s, sort of late 80s to the sort of mid 90s.
Yeah, seemed to be.
And see guys like Lawrence Peeney on Twitter, who's an absolute font of knowledge for those days. He's fantastic with it, and he absolutely
he can pinpoint every lap time.
Riders.
Lap, really, can he?
Somebody will put a picture up and he'll go, that sounds, and it's just an incredible amount of knowledge for those days. And you look back and go, yeah, I remember that name, and I remember that name.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story that I recall that you won a race from an ambulance.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, Boz.
Yeah, that was interesting. So,
how on earth do you do that?
Yeah, I know, and it made the Sun. That did, back page of the Sun. All it was. So basically, I was leading the race. There was quite some Steve Patrick's son, and Rob Orme, Andy Machin.
Yeah.
Good lad. And they're all in the race, and I was winning. 1985, and I was on a TZ250, and going into Gerrard's, Mallory Park, and I lost the front because it started raining. So I lost the front going into Gerrard's, and as I slid off, no problem, hit the bales. I was fine, nothing wrong with me at all. Marshals had come to me to get the bike, and as I looked up, as I was getting up, I looked up, there was 2 other bikes coming towards me. So I'm seeing this bike come towards me, 2 marshals around me, and as it's got to me, I jump, and it just knocks my feet, and I do like a 360 and land, and not injured, not injured, because I know it. There was no, I was off my feet, so it was did a tap really, landed, and I was fine. Belted 2 marshals. They weren't so well. They were all right. They didn't suffer any major injuries, but they stayed down. So red flag came, stopped the race, and I'm all right. The ambulance came, put them in the marshals and me in the ambulance. Drove round to the medical centre. The mechanic was waiting there. Opened the door. I'm getting out like, he goes, "Boss, you won." Stop taking the piss. I crashed. How could I have won? Those rules in those days. You'd go back a lap, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And whoever was leading the race gets. I mean, Roger did it.
Did he?
Mallory, yeah, did the same thing with. I think Fred Merkel was in the race.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Bloody hell! Was it transatlantic?
It could have been, yeah. And he crashed, and he got the result. And then from that point on, though, because it was a higher profile. Event time period that they changed the rules. If you crash, if you cause the race to be stopped, you're
excluded from the result,
which is a bit boring, isn't it?
It's not great, is it?
Funny as winning in the ambulance.
Dusting yourself up on the podium. I'll take that trophy. Is that my little envelope? Thank you very much.
In the paddock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think Patterson would have won it, and his dad was always a little bit vocal. It was Patterson's dad. And he kicked off big time. And he went to the stewards and put a complaint in, and then just got the rule book out.
The shy and retiring Yorkshireman.
Yeah. nice bloke, but he was controversial to a point. But anyway, so yeah, that was my first national win.
We come to the period of time that is, I guess, the most fascinating, and it's you kind of heading towards your peak of the early 90s of, like you said, that 4 to 6 year kind of peak that you had, where you didn't fear anybody.
Yeah. Nothing.
You're going to turn up. We'll do our best, and we're going there to win. We're not going there just to make up the numbers.
Yeah.
But with Mara Brown and Mackenzie occasionally coming in as super sub,
Hizzy,
as we'll come to. Hizzy was incredible on the 250, and Sorf, and the rest of them. What was he called? The names we mentioned all before.
Yeah.
What was that like for you to be a part of? Could you understand what you were doing at the time? Like all these names and this was the best racing, usually over a British Championship weekend.
Yeah,
was your race?
Yeah, it was always popular for the 250 race.
Nobody went to the ice cream van when you lot were on.
No, it was always always well attended. But for me, it was a dream still. In a bubble, thinking, although I've worked hard and it's I've got what I wanted, it's still, is it real? Because I shouldn't be doing this. I'm only no one. Again, it's like you've got no history. I've got no history in racing. No history of people who are close to me in racing. It's just something that I felt lucky, and now I'm doing it for a living and doing well at it. It's like when's a dream going to end, sort of thing, which it did in the end. But it was great, and it was a ride that you could never imagine would happen to you. It was awesome, yeah, and I'm grateful for it. Even to although you work hard for it, and there are a lot of lads as well who did the same as me. Probably more so to a point, committed and really dedicated themselves to it, but didn't quite make it, or got seriously injured on the back of it, and suffering from it today. That's another thing I'm grateful for. I got through with fairly light injuries to a point. So so it was awesome, Dave, and I'm forever grateful for it, absolutely. And it's led to different things in my life that have been as equal as good fun, you know. So
tell me the story of 1992, Buzz.
When I failed miserably to win the British Championship.
That was you need a drink for this one.
The
vodka in the bottom for this one.
Yeah, I've erased it from my memory, Dave. So I'm afraid you have to go to the textbooks. No, it was a bastard, really. But
what actually happened? Because we had Surf on a couple of years ago, and Surf became British champion that day.
On that day, yeah.
But there was Mara Brown, Neil Mackenzie come in as super sub.
Alan Carter.
Oh,
yes, it
was all doers.
It was all.
Did it go down to? It went down to the last round.
Well, this is what happened. Okay, so came Brands Hatch full circuit. Loved full circuit. I was fast around there, and and I nailed the first. And then Mara comes up to me and says, "Oh, fucking Rob Matt's brought Neil Mackenzie in to get in the way, boss." I says, "Has he?" He said, "What do I? What a twat?" I says, "That's kind of gonna spoil things, isn't it? Because you know this is a battle between me and you, and it's been a battle between me and you all year. And without any disrespect to Surf, he wasn't on the radar. It was me or Mara. That was it. Who were going to win it that day." And I said, "That should be just between me and you, fella, shouldn't it?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm pissed off, but I'll tell you what, Mackenzie ain't going to fucking beat me." So it did the opposite. Rob did the opposite. Rob was thinking, "I'm going to help get Mara to get the championship," but it worked against him. But so I was flying, and I'd done the lap record and got pole, and Mackenzie came up to me and said, "Fucking hell, well, that's I think we won't be seeing you this race." And but before that, we made sure the bike was going to be as best it could be. So you can never make it 100%, but we did our best. And the crankshaft are always unpredictable to a point. If you put a crankshaft in and it did 100 miles, and a bit more maybe, it's good for 500-600 miles. If you put one in and it could go. If it didn't let go by 100 miles, you were safe. So what we did, rather than put a brand new crank into the bike for the start of that weekend, we went to Rivalry, we did 100 miles, we took it out of the bike, we wrapped it in cotton wool and parked it in a nice warm cupboard and left it there for Brands Hatch. Come Brands Hatch, put it in, and I think we seized in the morning, I think. So Martin spent all weekend, all night, stripped the bike, made sure every single bit of shit was out of the engine, and built it back up again. So because Martin was meticulous like that, he would never have ducked any workload for the sake of it. He would all night if he needed to be. And then come race day, so I'm on pole with a good lap record. Mara's pissed because he's got Mackenzie. Mackenzie's second, I think, and then Carter's third. Mara's third, Carter's fourth. See, Carter was a fast lad, but I had him. I knew I could beat him almost every time.
Yeah.
At a certain point, we had a scrap. You know? Do you know about that?
No.
Yeah, we had a scrap.
Tell me about that. These are the stories, Buzz.
Yeah, this is better now. It's warming up a bit now, isn't it?
It always takes 20 minutes for a guest to get comfortable, and then all of a sudden they're like, right.
You're patient, aren't you?
Always.
So you want the scrap first or the race?
No, do.
Okay.
Well, which came first?
Scrap came first.
Go for that.
But a few races before the Brands race. So what happened with there was this 250 shootout challenge. It was like a bizarre promotional event done. Robert Fennell did it from Donington. Yeah. So it was a race at Donington on on the Saturday, and there was a race at Brands, I think, on the Sunday or the following weekend. I can't remember the time scales, but it was $5,000 for a win, which was like,
whoa, that's good money.
That's never heard of. That's so, and it was $1,000 for second. So anyway,
it's worth turning up for.
Yeah, still, yeah, absolutely. In those
days,
just
a big difference between top step and second step.
It was worth the late braking manoeuvre, wasn't it? Anyway, so Carter was really kind of revved up for this event. So we're coming in. So in the warm up or in the race, he belted me out of the way going into the hairpin, and he got Newton won it, and Carter got second. I got third. And it was like, "Ooh, you bastard!" That was okay. That's if they're the rules now, then we'll do a bit back. So the next race was Brands. It was a £5,000 shootout again. So I'm thinking, right, okay, I need to put a stop to this because otherwise, the bully syndrome.
Yeah.
Stand up to him. So we go out for warm up in at Brands, and I just kind of just out staring at him a bit, into the hairpin, and then as we're going into the hairpin, I'd chop his front wheel off. It's a bit of tarmac, a bit of a rubber tarmac on my seat. So anyway, and then he comes back underneath me into Clearway, not Clearways, Graham Hill, yeah. Do it again. And then we go down the straight, and I'm just looking at him down the straight, just really staring at him. And then I think that's enough for now. And then he, so I'm in the paddock now. I'm at the Dunlop truck or something with some tyres. And as I'm walking back, I can see him behind me. He comes up behind me, and he challenges me because he's not shy, is he?
No, the whole family wasn't, were they? With his dad,
he's grown up as a hard little fucker, hasn't he? He's gone through. I've got a lot of sympathy with and time and respect for Alan.
100%.
But not on this day.
However,
not on this day. He came up to me and he says, "What's your problem?" And I said, "What, me, Alan?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I haven't got a problem, have I?" He says, "What was all that about this morning?" I says, "Well, just a return serve, I guess. After last week at Donington." And he says, "No fucker does that to Alan Carter." And he pushed me in the face like that, pushed me with his hand like that. And honestly, Dave, I've probably hit one person in my life, and that's Alan Carter. And it just something clicked at that point, and I hit him twice, and he went on the floor, and I'm thinking, fuck, what have I done? and then he gets up, and he's bleeding from the mouth, and he goes like this, first blood, and walks away. So I'm thinking, what's he mean? Ooh. Does he want some more? And so it was all a little bit anyway. Honestly, from that day on, he never beat me.
Interesting.
I don't, and it's where Never's probably a little bit exaggerated. On some circumstances, he would have beaten me, but on a head-to-head, he never.
If you both finished, it was unlikely.
Very, very unlikely. Yeah, he was never really. So going back to and on the back of that, if you read his book,
you're on it now, look.
I got to put the handbrake.
Even sitting forward now when you do it.
I have to put the handbrake on him, otherwise it'll need too much editing. Yeah. So yeah, on the back of that, he once because he was a troubled fella, I'd say.
Yeah. The book tells you the story of that.
This is what I'm getting to, because he rang me out of the blue. So we'd finished racing. A lot of water going on the bridge. I'd moved on, he'd moved on, blah blah blah, and we'd never been in touch for any real reason. And he rang me and said, "Boz, you all right?" So he said, "Oh, Alan, all right, yeah, I'm all right, fella, yeah." He says, because we weren't really mates or anything like that. He said, "I said, what are you up to, Alan?" And he goes on, and then he starts saying, I'm in a dark place, Boz. I'm really, I don't know what to do. My racing's come to an end, and got no mates, and my wife's left me, and my kids don't want to know, and it's like, fucking hell, And so I said, we're chatting and trying to bring him round a bit. And I said, Al, you've got a fantastic story to tell. And not you finished third here and fourth there and I won that and I punched that marshal. None of that. It's your story before and after, because it needs telling. And I think you'll be a better bloke if you tell it. He said, what do you mean, boss? And I tried to sort of, steer him a little bit. Not because I'm an expert or anything like that, but because, it
But it's
was
an
a genuine
view, isn't it?
It's a genuine, reason to sort of...
Yeah.
To try, A, pull him out of his dark place, and B, let the world know that it wasn't an easy time for him, And that's what people like, don't they? They like those stories, where he's turned his life around and all that sort of stuff. And he did, and he was an amazing rider. And he did. He went off and wrote this book, and it does say, and I was humbled a little bit because it says, and thanks to Boz, he said, go and write a book, and I did. And he just mentioned it. He says, this is another one. I said, I've never fucking Boz hit me. I've never been hit so fucking hard in all my life. And I'm a right lightweight. I've never punched anyone or anything like that. And it was like, it just must have been such a lucky punch.
She's got the momentum with it.
And it was like, I was so angry at the time.
It happens that way, doesn't it? I just open this door a second, Boz. It's a bit warm, isn't it? Yeah, so there's some air coming through. It'll cool Boz down a bit. That's what it'll do. You can see.
I was ready for another one.
The old limiter was on then. Did you see that? It's brilliant. But he is a fascinating character, is Alan, and his story. If you haven't read the book, Light in the Darkness,
yeah.
It's a fascinating read of his story with his dad, with Mal, and losing Kenny, and the troubles. The
way he lost Kenny, and
absolutely,
and his mother, got paralysed, and then she died, and God, and he had a stillborn child, and all the things that you dread. That can happen.
A lot of them just happen to Alan.
And they all happened to Alan.
Yeah.
And none of it probably was his own fault. It was the way he's brought up. His dad was an arsehole. Proper arsehole. To treat his kid like that is just, he'd be locked up now. He'd be having his children taken off him.
He was a massive advocate of the sport.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other side of it. Yeah.
Anyway, to brands.
Yeah, back to brands.
So.
Get over this bit as quick as you want.
I've done.
It's unfortunately part of the story we need to tell, Boz. I know
it's ugly, but there you go. We'll do it.
We'll get out of history. We'll do that, and then we'll go to the good stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm only kidding. I'm over it now, Dave. I'm over it.
I can tell that by the twitch and the fact that you're ushering me towards the door.
Is that the camera still going? So, yeah, race day thing. Off we got. Good start. I broke the gap a little. I gapped him a bit, and I was going down into Graham, and it, when a crank goes, because when a crank goes, a piston, it will go slower, but it will give you lots of warning. A crank is just like someone's put a spoke in a stick in your back wheel, and it went going into. So I pulled the clutch in, and I rolled round Graham thinking, I'm all right. Did that brake? Did something brake? No, it didn't. And let the clutch go again, and it just locked the back wheel up, and I'm like, fucking hell. And I pulled the clutch in and rolled onto the grass and leaned up against the bottom of the, what's that left on there? Surtees. And I'm sat there thinking, fucking hell. Really? What have I done to deserve? It was, because we tried everything.
So you couldn't have done anything more to prepare for it.
Not. It was absolutely as because we knew what the consequences could be, and now we're facing them. So I'm watching the race now, and I see Mara fighting with Neil for the lead, and then he doesn't come round because he's crashed around the back, hasn't he? I thought, fucking, where's Mara? Did I miss him? And no, he's gone. Mara, and then Fred, on Fred's commentary, it's gone. I said, Jesus. And then Danny comes down and says, Boz, now Mara's out, you can win this. So, and he's there, he's like that, and he's like, hang on, where's Surf? Surf's the next one who can win it. Where's Surf? And he's looking, Surf's in 5th place, I think. And he got Wolsey Coulter in front of him, and there was a lap to go. Now, Wolsey is awesome. so fast, Wolsey Coulter, and without disrespect to sort of, I would have put my life on it that sort of wouldn't pass Coulter in the last lap. And we're going, and he goes out, comes into sight then, sort of comes into, Wolsey comes into sight, roll coasting. He'd run out of fuel. And sort of takes the 4th place, I think, which gives him the championship. So, I had it, I lost it, I had it, I lost it, sort of thing. So all in space of 2 laps. So I cried like a child, because you're just so pent up and so, this is what you've worked for all your life, and you've done everything you possibly can, and then, oh, hang on a minute, no, you haven't lost it, you got it. Oh, awesome, got it again. And then think, no, only kidding, you not got it, take it off you again. So all those things in a space of 3 minutes, because it's a lap, isn't it?
Yeah, hold you one lap, yeah.
And it was like hell of a party after though.
That's important.
That was a hell of a party. We had some fun that night. Fucking hell. Once you got over it and thought, well, okay,
What's your best memories from that night? Here we go.
No, funny. What was funny? What we did. Here's a story. Then. So this is what happened. So me and mechanic, we went into mechanic's a bit of a nutter, really, I suppose. And that's most mechanics are. For some reason, they tend to be a bit nuts, don't they? We're in the Kentican. So that's the one on the.
That's it. Up on
and
the
then
hill,
you got
yeah.
the Thistle, haven't you?
So
we're going to go to the Thistle in the end, but we thought we'd have a beer in the Kentican. And we're there, and this kid for a beer, and this woman who's serving, seems a bit of a laugh. She says, we asked for 2 pints, and she says, "Oh, do you want a free one?" And the mechanic goes, "Yeah, I'll have a free pint. Have a free pint." And she's giggling to herself, and she goes, and she gets this free pint. It's on the back of the bar, and she goes, "There you go," and looks at the mechanic, and there's, believe it or not, there's a set of false teeth, right, in this beer, and the beer's gone all cloudy, and there's all bits, and apparently they'd been cleaning the Thistle, and these false teeth had been brought down to the Kentican to see, I don't know what. But anyway, so she'd put these false teeth in the beer, and there was a laugh. She had a laugh. Everyone was, and they were going, "Oh no, you're a dirty bastard." No, I'm not going. Anyway, the mechanic got that. Ooh, yeah, I love that. Down in one.
No, the rare brew.
Jesus. And then he pulls the false teeth out and puts them in his mouth.
Oh, do you know what?
But
that's just wrong.
Honestly, Dave, right, and everyone's got to try this. Which sounds a bit weird, but you've got, until you put a set of false teeth in your mouth, that the way you look, the way it sends the shape of your face is just, you are the most good-looking bloke in the world is becoming the most ugliest bloke in the world by putting these teeth in his mouth. And what we did in the end, we went down to the Thistle, and that was it. We all had to put these teeth in. And it was the funniest night out. It was brilliant. And all based around these false teeth.
Oh, what a night out based around false teeth. But yeah, you see, good. You just never know, do you?
And then
where it is.
Odd, you won't like this, but I'll tell you this. So then what happens, we're all going back to the paddock. There's Mara Brown, there's Odgies, I think Odgies there as well. No, Odgies wasn't there, was he? I don't know, can't remember. But anyway, there's 8 of us on this scooter, right? I don't know how you get 8 on, but there's 8 of us. But guess what? The bloke who's riding it can't see.
No.
And we're going, and someone's sat on the front like that, on the mudguard, and he's saying, right, left, right. And he gets his lefts and rights wrong. So we pile into the side of the grandstand, and we all big pile of bodies everywhere. And Odgie's mum, who was she's lovely. God bless her.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was tasty. Anyway, she stood over us in the skirt. We're all like, sorry, Odgie. but it was great. She was lovely, and she was so worried that it all broke something. Everything, but all we wanted to see. Anyway, that's the perv. You might have to cut that out, though.
I don't know.
Are you allowed to do that nowadays?
Yeah, what perv? 100%.
It wasn't perv. It was just in distress.
Sorry, you were in distress on the floor, boss.
Yeah,
that was the one. No, we're leaving that in.
Okay.
So, what were your best memories of those times? That was 92 was difficult, but there's so many great characters back then. You sort of bringing Hodgie into play as well in the 125s at the time.
James Hayden.
James Hayden was coming in.
Yeah, they were kind of
Britain. So they were the next generation.
They were the next generation. Jamie Robinson.
Jamie Robb, Chris Walker.
Yeah, Walker Stalker. Yeah, good lad. Yeah, they were fast boys. They were, and they. I was then coming out of my golden years, I suppose, and I was at an age where risk was harder, and you're feeling not part of it now because you're at an age you're the latter part of your career, so you kind of like everyone's focused on the new kids, which is understandable, isn't it? But you have to deal with it. It's part of
British Superbikes now. You've got your Brookses and your Leons that are in their later years, and your Max Cooks and your Charlie Nesbitts coming through, and it happens every generation.
And that's where, and this happened to me. There was Chris, James, Robinson, Hodgie. Hodgie didn't do 250. 125. He had a go on a 250. He was fast on a 250. One off ride, and it was all the focus was on them, and all the deals went their way and everything. You were getting making less money and all that sort of stuff. And it was a time, I was getting injured as well. I was breaking my wrist a lot for some reason. Whittam said I'd got glass wrists or something, but anyway, he was probably right. But I constantly breaking my wrists, and the scaphoids, so they were never healing properly. So, and getting harder and harder to do what I used to do. So that was kind of, you got to surrender in the end, and and I was happy to, because the good years had gone, and it wasn't the same, and it was a bit of boredom as well, because it was repeat,
okay, that's interesting.
which is an unusual thing to say, but I was just going to the same circuits, doing the same qualifying, doing the same laps, going testing, doing laps, boring, and the rewards weren't the same because you weren't getting the results, and if you did get results, the financial reward wasn't the same, or you should have won it anyway, Boz, because you've been winning anyway. So there wasn't
the weight of expectation.
Yeah, and it was all lots of negatives, and not very many positives. And I'm in my 30s now, and I'm thinking, I've got to do something different now, because I'm bored of this to a point. I'm not getting the pleasure out of it, or the financial reward out of it. I was, so I've got to do something. So, and it was a strange one, but it wasn't a strange one. I was a model maker when I started, before I started racing, and I still had those skills, but I wanted to apply them to something that was relevant to the industry.
Yeah.
And guess what? Kenny Roberts came along, who was a massive hero, like we all, you've got posters of Kenny.
No question.
There's no questions of no. So Kenny, and I'm thinking, he's going to build a motorbike and he's going to base him in Banbury, which is like 45 minutes from my house. I wonder if there's a job for me there. So I stalked old the builder. I found out where it was, because you couldn't Google it.
No. Oh no, you have to go and do it yourself, don't you? Still too. Well, that window's open. That's all right. Easy. So go
on. I found where they were, based in Banbury, and I sat outside. Bit weird. Thinking I might see Kenny, and I'm going to ask him. Kenny didn't know me from anyone, so it was going to be a cold introduction. Because initially I would go in and ask reception, and she'd say, "Kenny's not here. Leave a message, and he'll get back to you." Never did. So anyway, and then when he was in, she wouldn't let me see him, which is fine. He was just weirdo.
As standard.
We went outside there 3 hours. What's wrong with you?
He's back again.
Yeah, just tell him to fuck off. So eventually I saw him, and he came out, and I clobbered him in the car. But I said, "Hello, Kenny." He says, "I'm my name's Nigel Bosworth." He says, "I'm a product design model maker, and I've been into bikes. I've raced bikes. I've got a good empathy with bikes, and I'd like to see if I could be of any use to you in this new project." And he didn't stop. I'm walking after him like this, and he's getting into his car, and he says, "Can you weld?" I says, "Yeah. Which type of welding?" He says, "TIG." And I fucking can't do that. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Ali or titanium. Yeah, all of it. Yeah. He said, "If you can weld," he says, "come back here in a fortnight. We'll have a machine set up. Shows what you can do." So I went to the local college and went and learned how to TIG weld, and I did it for 2 weeks solid. Just the bloke sat me down. I didn't enter a course or anything like that. I just said what I needed to do, and the teacher was good. He said, "Yeah, right, go and cut yourself a load of pieces of aluminium up and a load of titanium up. This is how you do. This is the set you need. This does that does that. Off you go." So I did. I sat there and I was blowing holes and everything, and burning myself and coughing on the fumes and all that sort of stuff. And eventually, I did a bead of weld, and I think, Jesus, that was good. And it just, after so many days, you get it. And so I went to see Kenny, and he says, yeah. What? He didn't know who I was. So I've come
recollection.
I've come to do the welding, Kenny. What? Yeah, he said, did I? Yeah. Oh, well, there's a welder in the corner. It's just arrived. It's still wrapped up in the box. Go and do what you can. So I had to go. There was nothing in the workshop. It was empty, completely empty.
Brand new, wasn't it?
Brand new, brand spanking new. So I unwrapped it, and luckily it was a similar model to what I've been using at the college. So I'd set it all up, looked really good, and I was doing it really quick and slick, and I got some bits, and I laid some really good beads. Well, I didn't. The first few went in the bin. Then I got the hang of it a bit more, and got me.
Just get your eye in.
Yeah, and they were like, and he came over, and he says, "How you getting on?" I said, "Oh, well, just done some welding for you, Kenny. The machine's good. It's a nice machine." He says, "It's blagging it. I think I've used one of these a few times now." And he says, he says, "Yeah, okay, you got the job." So I turned up about a week later, and then this was probably mid-96, and first started in 97, didn't they? And they were testing in September, I think. So I had to build a bike for September, and I didn't weld the chassis to start with, but I did the radiators and various bits and bobs and stuff like that. But in the end, my main role was to repair them, because they had a really inherent vibration, and they were cracking. The frames were cracking, so I had to go and brace them and weld them. So I was out in Ereth at a test, banging, just repairing the chassis constantly, which was good. But then Kenny, someone in the team must have told him that I'd raced, because I'd never mentioned I'd raced to her. That wasn't I'd been done. Yeah. I was over it. Well, I wasn't. I was slowly getting cured. Kenny's I was in the tea room just having a sandwich, and he when he talks to you, he said, "Hey, asshole, you ever ridden a 500?" And I'm like, No, Kenny, no. I was 250 mainly. He says, "Well, you're going to ride one tomorrow, you asshole." Thank you. So, what we did, he was based at Catalonia, wasn't he? He had a ranch, a little ranch.
Yes, he did, just outside, yeah.
With a slide school and all that sort of stuff. He said, I've got a afternoon session booked at Catalonia, so we're going to put the bike on we had a little twin engine plane. It was quite, not a little one, it would hold 12, 14 people. It's a fair size. Kenny flew himself. And it was at Kidlington Airport, which is not far from Banbury. He said, we took 4 seats out the plane, and we're going to get the bike in. load of toolboxes and wheels and spares, and says we're going to Catalunya to do some testing. You're coming with us. So that was my first time.
Perfect.
Great. And then we did after that was just a shakedown really. So just to sort of get the thing to a level where Junior could ride it to be comfortable with, make sure nothing fell off it basically. And then we went to Jerez, and I'd been to Jerez, and I knew it quite well. And the bike at this point then, because Tomo Kane, another legend, lovely bloke, Tomo, he dialed it in by then, and he'd set all the heights and the trail and all that sort of stuff. And it was a 250 basically, a fast 250, and I banged in a really good lap time. It was probably the most rewarding lap I've ever done. A bit fluky, but it was a bit. And all I came in and they're all going like this. What's his time? Like this, you know. And Kenny wasn't there at the time. He was back in America. But Chuck Aston, he rung Kenny and he'd said, "Oh yeah," or he'd tell him how it was going, and Junior was doing this, and a jump shell belt was doing that, and but yeah, Boss did it. And he said, "Fuck, did he, man?" He says, "Pay him more, man, pay him more." We'll keep him.
Excellent. He can stay on.
Stay on, yeah. So I went off the welding and became a test rider.
I mean, working with that level of rider and that level of team, you couldn't even have applied for that.
No,
that like what you said, exactly as you said before. It's amazing how timing is so important in a lot of what we do in the sport. If you try to plan it, it'd never happen.
No, that like I say, if I'd applied for that through an agency or CV or something like that, it would have been
determination, boss. Exactly what you said earlier on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, if you want something bad enough, and I tell my lads the same thing, and my wife to a point, because she's not very confident, but she's starting to be, you know, after 35 years.
That's how long you've been together. You're working away.
Yeah, I'm working. Yeah, it's
Work in progress.
never give up, Dave. Never give up. But it is so important that you know, if you believe in something and you can do anything. And there's that book, isn't there? 10,000 Hours. You know, I don't know if you've read it, but it's not the greatest read. But if you do something for long enough, you'll be good at it. And I think if you apply that, then although I didn't do welding for long enough, really.
Because you're looking at 10 hours out.
Kenny said to me once, he said I was doing a bit of welding before for the team, and I was doing test riding as well. It was good because you could use your model making skills. We did a clay model of the bike and all that sort of stuff, and we did some machining work, and it was really good. You know, you're involved. It's a great project. And then I was doing a bit of welding, and Kenny came over and says, "Fucking hell, boss, you're a shit welder."
Did you agree?
I said, "No, Kenny."
But I'm here. What bike was it?
VR3, KR-VR3.
The KR-VR3, the triple, wasn't it?
Triple, yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful motorbike to ride. Beautiful. You know, I would get it. All I was there for really is to sort of make sure that it was an improvement. It wasn't going to break. So then Kenny could ride it, Junior. And then Kenny would be the one who'd say, because we did this one test, we did this one project. Kenny was great because but also nuts. And he'd say, right, we're going to go. We're 12 Ks down. Everywhere we go, we're 10, 12, 14 Ks off the pace. We need that much speed. So the only way we could do it was aerodynamics, and that wasn't really a focus in those days. So we got in touch with a guy who designed the Chris Boardman Olympic winning push bike.
Yeah.
Which was a Lotus, if you remember.
It was, I do remember.
So I went to Lotus, got in touch with this guy, and Kenny's brief, always one sentence, if anything, was give us 12 Ks and you've achieved what we want. So but he's never ridden a motorbike in his life, this bloke. And the thing was awful when we came back with it. We had a project manager who kept popping in to see how it was going, and I'd go and I'd sit on it and, you know, think, well, that'd be awesome down the straight. Look at that, that's brilliant. But it'd be shit in the corners. You need the pegs higher and further back, and it can't be that low. You know, you need a tank bigger so you can feel it with your leg. Oh, I'll tell him all that, but he wanted, all he saw was 14 Ks or 12 Ks or whatever in his head. If I do that, he didn't say this, but you can imagine him saying, if we do what Boss wants, then we're going to get less speed.
Yeah, you're talking out of it, not into it. Kenny wants speed.
This, yeah.
Doesn't matter what the rider thinks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So anyway,
you.
so it all built, it did a prototype, and it looked fucking hideous. It was the most ugliest motorbike, and Kelly Jr. looked at it, says, fucking no chance.
No.
Says, don't even ask me, because I ain't going to sit on it. So I had to go out, Catalonia again, and did a couple of just sighting laps, came in and then I'd go out and do a full race lap, and I'm going down the Catalonia, longest straight in it, and they got the speed gun and all that sort of stuff, and as I get to that the circuit drops, it nearly took off. I couldn't, it was just luck that it went down again, because it was so aerodynamic.
Once the wind got underneath it,
wanted to take off. And that was in the that went to the back of the garage, and it went. I don't even think it went home.
It's in the skip out the back.
No, that's Kenny for you. See, he got what he wanted, because it was nearly 14 k's quicker than the one that wasn't aerodynamic, but it just couldn't get around the corner.
It's useful on a motorcycle, like going around corners, isn't it?
That's
the entertaining bit.
Yeah,
going in a straight line, you want to be a drag racer. But the best bit is corner speed.
That's it. So those lessons, again, all, you know, not being too radical, focusing on a certain geometry package, you get the beautiful motorbike that Jeremy took to pole in Australia, and Junior had some banging racing. And what he did for Junior, he had to ride the wheels off it, and when he rode the wheels off that, and then he got onto a faster bike, the Suzuki, he won the World Championship.
He did. It's similar to Casey, isn't it, when he was on the LCR?
Yeah, rode the wheels
off that, got on the Ducati.
Bosh.
Thanks very much. Big.
Well, that works. That concept works.
I think Mark will do a little bit of that this year. That's a whole different story.
I hope so, yeah.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling he might do. You moved into race management. Management after that. How did that come about?
I tell you what, I did 6 years with Kenny, and it was...
That's a fair time, though.
It was. And it was fantastic. But this is what weaned me off riding motorbikes, because we'd go to a test, and it was, say, a 4-day test at Almeria, and you rode that bike every minute of the day from 9 o'clock in the morning, you'd have your lunch break, back out again till 5:30, and you'd lap after lap after lap after lap. And it wears you out. You know, I'm getting older and older, and not as fit, struggling to sort of do the lap times that you've got to do to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Make it worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And then I thought, well, what can I do now then? And Yamaha, Andy Smith, he'd said, boss, we've got a little thing going on with the 250 team that we want to put together. It's a good package. It's got bikes, spares package, race kits, wheels, Dunlop contract, all that sort of stuff. It's a good little package, but we need someone to sort of bankroll it a bit, you know, the truck and the professional stuff. And I said, were you up for it? I said, yes. But we need some sponsors, don't we? He said, oh yeah, boss, you're going to probably need 50 grand to do it. I thought, well, you bugger, that's a big chunk. I said, but I like the idea of it. I'll give that. So off I went on my sponsorship mission, which I sometimes was quite successful at. And this time I saw Paul Bird was running a 250 as well as a superbike, I think, or one of the, I can't remember now, but anyway. And I thought, I wonder if Ben Atkins wants to run a 250, you know. So I got in touch with Ben. I didn't know him. I did know him. I knew him from saying hello in the paddock, and that's what they do and all sorts of stuff. And I put this quite a nice proposal together, and I sent it to Ben, and he liked it, and we had a chat, and he said, "I like this, but yeah, this could be good. It's, you know, be a bit high profile for 250s, and we can get we'll get the best 250 rider on this easy, no problem. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it with a Red Bull 250 package. I thought that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?" And then he stopped answering the phone. We've all experienced that, you know, time and time again. So I thought, oh, okay, he's gone a bit cold, I think. So I didn't think anything. And I just thought, okay, well, I was looking elsewhere anyway, but it wasn't going to happen. At the time, we were running out of time. Yeah. But anyway, Ben called me. I thought, oh, Ben Atkins on the phone. We've got a gig. So, sorry, Ben. I've not heard from you a bit. Yeah, sorry, I've been a bit quiet. Well, I said, I want you to come and see me. I said, yeah, okay, brilliant. I think 256 on. It's on. So again, we go to see him in this hotel in Northampton, and he said, "Boss," he says, "what are you up for a job, boss?" I says, "I thought we were doing the 250." No, that's gone. That's gone. We're not. He says, "I want you to run my Red Bull Ducati team." I think, okay, no. This is another Kenny Roberts moment. I could do that easy.
Where do I sign?
Yeah. And I was a little bit nervous, to be honest. I said, "You sure?" And he says, I know my way around the 250 world and that, and I'm confident after working with Kenny and seeing how they produce and present teams, I could do a good job. But Superbike, you know, it's a bit different story, and it's a high profile gig, isn't it? It's not going to be like I can learn, you know, I'm straight in, aren't I? Boss, do you want it or not? Yeah, go on then. Yeah, go on then, Ben. So I said, yes, let's do it. So I told Kenny, he was good as gold. He said, no, yeah, you've had a great time, Boz. You're welcome back any time. But yeah, you've got a good chance there. You've got a good opportunity to go and take it and see what you can do. And that was it. But it was hard, really hard, mainly because it's Sean Emmett.
So this was 2001.
Yeah.
Sean Emmett and John Reynolds.
Yeah, Sean and John.
Red Bull Racing.
That's it, yeah. Red Bull Racing. Great. I mean, beautiful. You know, one of the mechanics, because Spanner was there.
And that name crops up again.
Spanner was up, yeah.
He's never shy of our podcast, is Spanner. His name crops up fairly regularly.
Yeah. And he was, he said to me, well, what you left Roberts to come here for, you twat?
That's not like him.
No, he did say that. And he said it all the way through the year. But I think he's a bit like Kenny. If he's swearing at you in disrespect, he likes you. It's the one when he's talking to you, that's when you're in trouble. But top lad though, awesome mechanic, awesome. And he's, you know, he's done really well in his career. He's gone from, you know, from so many teams and so many riders. But they all have him back,
yeah, and
all the riders want him to work for him, and that sort of thing. So there's an endorsement in itself. And so, but yeah, in at the deep end. And the first thing we did was to go to Almeria for a test. And it was a transition between Kenny and, because Kenny said, yeah, okay, wish you well, but there's a couple of tests that we still want you to do, and we've got the model to finish on the bike. So if it's okay with Ben, we'll have you back on, you know, on every now and again until we finish the project.
No welding.
He didn't ask for that. Funny enough, he didn't ask for that. I think he got a welder by then.
Sorry, carry on.
I can take it. It's all right. Welding. I know I'm shit at welding. So yeah. So it was a bit about. So I'd just been on a 4-day test at Almeria with Kenny. And then I was back, and we're getting the Red Bull team to get ready to go to Almeria again. So, and I banged in quite a good lap, and I think that helped me a little bit because although when I was racing, I had a good couple of battles with John. John did the odd 250 racing. We had some.
Oh, he did. He rode Kawasaki, didn't he?
Paget's
as well.
He rode 250 for Paget's.
I remember on a KR1S at one point.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, but then he,
as he grew,
then he did the odd invitation race on 250. So I had a good couple of races with John, and I knew that he was a hard bastard to race against. But he obviously thought, actually, okay, Boz is not a twat. If he just says something, at least he's got a bit of value to it, hopefully. So I've done a good lap at Almeria with Kenny, and this was a fairly new circuit then at the time. And John was scratching his head what sort of lap times to expect. And I said, well, here's the times I've just done. I don't know if they compare with a superbike, but it's a ballpark. And he was struggling to get that. He was desperate though to beat it. He was going to beat it, and he was so focused on that he did beat it. Because a 500 GP bike compared to a road bike, effectively, is going to be quicker, no matter who's on it to a point. So John, but Sean, right, Emmett so John embraced me a bit, and we had that bit of mutual respect. Yeah. Sean, no, I'm a fucking daddy. And he, oh yeah, it was definitely,
All right, fast bikes, Joe.
Yeah, but he was a rock and roll star, wasn't he, Sean? And top bloke. But it didn't start off well, and it was a bit of I'll do what I want to do, and it was driving the hire car like a twat and all that sort of stuff. No hire car story yet from me, by the way. And doing just to ruin the podcast.
He's listened before.
And he was being a dick, So and I'm losing sleep over this. He needs putting into line somehow. But I've got to be careful here because at the end of the day, you've got Ben Atkins. Yeah. He's the decision maker. You're the doer. And if he don't agree, then you're in the shit. So I ran it past. So it was getting a bit. It was getting a bit of an arsehole. It was getting a bit awkward. And we did a couple of races, and he weren't getting the results by a long way. John was winning. Izzy was, on his tail, and Sean was 7th, 8th. And then the World Superbike race would come up, and Sean wanted to do it. So I'm managing the budget as well. So I'm looking at the tyre costs and all what that whole event was going to cost us, and it's going to blow the budget. So I'm saying, I said to Ben, Ben, I want you to support me on this because I don't think Sean should do it for these reasons, and also it will stamp my authority to a point with Sean. Now it could go both ways. It could go either way. That Sean could spit his dummy out and leave the team, or he could toe the line. And Ben says, "Look, Boz, if you think it's going to work, then you got my backing." I said, "Oh, okay, awesome." So didn't say anything to Sean. We entered him and we entered John, but I told Spanner and Tomo, who was the other mechanic, leave Sean's bikes at the workshop. And didn't tell Sean, listen. It's a stinker, this is.
That's a big call, boss.
I know. So we turned up. So yeah, got a set of team. We didn't have a garage. We were in an awning. Set the team up. John's bikes there, everything. John comes in. Oh, all right, boss. Yeah. 2 bikes, boss. What's up? Where's Sean? And then Sean comes in. Fucking hell, his face. He's like, he's ready to, and he goes straight out and rings Ben. And Ben says, "Is Boz there?" Yeah. So, well, he'll tell you what the story is. So I went into the office in the truck and I told him, and he kicked off like you wouldn't believe. I said, "Sean, at the minute, you're not towing the line, you're wobbling around in 7th and 8th place, British Superbike. Your budget is tight, and you're going to get your ass kicked here if you carry on like that." And that was it then. It's like that, what we were talking about earlier about these coaches nowadays. Yeah. You can't say how it is, And it was a harsh lesson. And he went home, spat his dummy out, tried to, kicked off a bit, tried to sort of get Ben to convince Ben to do it. Realised it wasn't going to happen. And then the next race, British Superbike, he was awesome. and he never and me and Sean since that day have had, you know, he's a trouble fellow again. He's had his moments, but he's a lovely lad, a top bloke, and we've got a really good relationship now, and it all because of that. Because again, you know, it's one of those things you got to stand up to people to a point. Yeah. And he was going to bully me into a point where he was going to be ruling the roosts, and that I had to do something quickly there and then, and that worked.
Brutal, but effective.
Brutal, yeah. But it's, you know, and he finished third in the end in the championship. But he basically was a proper good teammate for John. You know, he got in the way of Izzy when he had to, and because Izzy was on it. He was
the monster mob.
Monster mob, yeah.
Was, wasn't he?
Paul Byrne, yeah.
Yeah,
that was another story because he got Ben's daughter, Karen. She just had 2 kids, twins,
Frank and Jordan,
and had fell out with Paul. So I was having to not manage it, but I was having to. Ben would be on the phone. I don't want Paul Bird next to us in the garage. Get him away. If he's next door to us, get them to move. Fucking what? Paul,
excuse me.
Can you get the pallet, please, mate? No, not a chance. So it was all a little bit tense, and it was a difficult time, especially for Karen, because she's a lovely kid, and she, you know, all she wanted was the best for her kids, and it was difficult with Paul. We were, you know, that into the equation where Hizzy and John were battling out for it was a really emotional, ever so emotional garage, and it was very, very, very intense. But it was, so I'd gone from chilling with Kenny riding, you know, some fast laps on a GP bike into this. It was like EastEnders,
the maelstrom of a British superbike, a British superbike
so much
garage.
Controversy going on.
It's a difficult time. I mean, just to step back to the testing, it reminded me of something Freddie Spencer said. I just pick that name up when I did a podcast with him a few years ago, and when he talks about his wrist and he was doing the tyre testing at Phillip Island or Eastern, whichever one it was, lap after lap after lap. You have so much time to think, what am I doing? What is this? What riding motorcycles is about? And it was something that Shaky said back in November. He misses the competition. There's no competition doing testing. It's not about riding motorcycles. It's the competition and winning that drives you to do what you do on a motorcycle. Doesn't matter if you're on a canoe, on a horse. You want to win. It's the same determination. But take that away. I mean, for somebody like me that's never raced, and you do lap after lap after lap, that'd be great. Yeah. Because I could do that.
Yeah, you're having a great time.
But I don't know the racing side of it, and I never will feel what you felt standing on the podium and battling for wins and missing out, but equally winning at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating side to that.
I get it, yeah, I get that. And there was a funny story to that, because there was this engineer, designer at I won't name him because it's not fair, probably, I suppose. But he's a brilliant engineer, designer. But he would always be was never really happy with himself. You know, he was always, he'd moan a lot and things. But he got his perfect job in this you know, beautiful environment. But he was still moaning.
Some people are never happy.
Yeah, I know. And he was really intense. Anyway, day 4, last day of the Almeria test. I'm almost got my leathers off, thinking, fucking hell, what a relief. And he comes in with his laptop. Buzz, we just need 5 more laps. Okay, really, John? You know, do we have to do? I said his name, didn't I?
Not the surname. No,
that's all right. Yeah. Do we really? Yes, it's really. I've just found something, and this could be the answer. This could be the answer. Okay, right. So I put this on, and he's not the fittest bloke. So I needed a return survey. I needed a swipe back. So I'm everyone's packing away. See, so he's the only one who's going to push me. So he starts pushing me, So I keep my finger on the kill button. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and this thing ain't starting. And then as he's slowing down, because he's running out of breath, I just let my finger off, and it, a few pistons, and he makes him push harder. And I've done this all the way the length. Eventually, I clear it up, and I do the 5 laps, come in, and where's John? Oh, he's still down there at the end of the place. Trying to get his breath. He's like that against.
That's for those extra 5 laps.
That was a return to that.
Brilliant. What was the most difficult thing you faced while you were doing the Revo Red Bull? Would that be the World Superbike decision?
Yeah, that was tough. I'd lost a lot of sleep over that. Ben said to me, he said, "Boss, we've got to win this title. We've pissed about too much now. We hadn't won it." We
finished third in 2000, didn't they?
Yeah,
behind Stalker and Hodgie.
That's right. Yeah, we've got to retain Red Bull and Ben's focus and all that sort of stuff. We've got to win this year, and it was fucking hard. Izzy was just on fire.
Talk about going in at the deep end.
It was a battle royal, that was, yeah, and it was really it was difficult. Well, now I speak about it, which I don't often speak about it. Thinking back, Jesus, it was. And then John broke his foot, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you see, here's another little story that might be controversial. So John broke his foot. I think he broke it at Mallory, and the next race was Rockingham, of all places. And I was asked by the ACU with a couple of other people to go and inspect the circuit, because they had this chicane onto the banking
and then one off it.
Yeah.
Is this Izzy?
Yeah.
Yeah, carrot.
So I'm kind of, although I didn't, all I did was with Rob Mack and a few others is just say, yeah, I think this is possibly doable, because your bike's upright. Because what they're worried about is high siding into the Armco.
Yeah. So
the bike's, it's a long corner out of so you've got plenty of time to get onto more tyre contact, so you should have more grip and you should have less chance of high siding. That was the theory. So anyway, so I was kind of, here's me, the team that's challenging for the championship, and now I'm making decisions, which I wasn't, on how the circuit should be. It was just an endorsement, I guess.
Yes.
Which was already committed by the ACU. So, and then came the race, and John's come back from his broken foot, so we've had to modify the foot peg and the gear lever so he can be more comfortable. Anyway, during the race, Izzy wins the first one, I think, and he's not looking like he's going to lose the second one, which means he's going to pretty much be favourite for the championship when he goes to the final round at Donington. Anyway, going through that fast chicane, John misses a gear. Izzy hits the back of him, slides off and breaks his leg.
Under the air fence?
Yeah, he went under the air fence, yeah, exactly. It was really unfortunate, but so, you can trace that back because people were saying, well, fucking John shouldn't have been racing. He broke his foot. And he missed the gear, and now he's fucked the championship up.
But what do you do?
But, there's circumstances, Guess what? Your crank fails when you're going to win the British Championship. These things happen.
This is racing.
You
can't... It doesn't happen that way. Racing doesn't happen that way.
It's not planned.
If we did ifs, buts and maybes, we'd never race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if that comes off? Well, what if that happens?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If it does? We'll deal with it at the time.
Yeah.
You can't... It's the I know Stuart's done a fabulous job to work on the safety of the circuits and to minimise risk.
Yeah.
But there are still unforeseens.
Of course there are, yeah.
It's like the risk assessments, isn't it?
It's
going to happen. It's just when.
Yeah. The trouble is you've got to be careful of not taking out the excitement. You can, if you lean over now, it's dangerous. You're going to stop for that corner and push it around and go and accelerate. That's what
you can't use more than 3 gears.
Yeah. So you've got to keep that it's
we
the
love
show.
it.
Haven't you? Got to keep the show.
It's why we love it.
Yeah, and there's a risk.
There's always a risk.
If it's not risky, it's boring.
There's less risk now than I think there ever has been.
God, it's brilliant now. Yeah.
I mean, you could go down a whole different rabbit hole with that of how close racing is, which brings its own problems.
Yeah.
By trying to keep the show exciting in this day and age, but that's a whole different podcast.
Oh, that's
we can do that. We'll do that another time. That's a different rabbit hole. How did the Foggy Petronas gig come about?
Bizarre. I was again, I suppose. So I've been at Red Bull Ducati doing a year there, thinking this is great. I'd do another year if Ben wanted me to, but there was never any indication there was going to be another year. So, like anything in bike racing, if you've got 10 months contract, you've had a good, you can relax.
Yeah.
But my 10-month contract was coming to an end, and I was always mates with Foggy for years. I raced against him in 250s, hung out with him a few times. We played squash together, we rode dirt bikes together, and that sort of thing. So he was all right. We played footy together a lot, and I got a lot of time for Foggy. I think he had a bit of time for me, and so during that Red Bull Ducati year, 2001. Not 2001, yeah. I was playing footy with Foggy. We'd meet at Manchester, this indoor football, and we'd have a team. We'd have a good time. We'd have a beer after and crack. And he'd just hurt his shoulder in Phillip Island.
Yeah.
If you remember. Yeah. And he hadn't just done it.
Yeah.
He was probably
coming back from it.
He'd retired, hadn't he? Because of his shoulder.
That's right.
And he was now Ducati ambassador. And I said, "What are you up to then? What are you doing with yourself? Okay." He said, "Well, I'm going to races. I'm signing autographs, eating lots of shit food in hospitality, and coming home again. But they pay me well." "Oh, okay." Says, "Are you bored?" He said, "I'm bored out of my head." And I said, "What do you ever fancy doing your own team? And I'm not putting my money in, and nowhere, boss. Says, not using my money." I said, "You don't use your own money." I said, "You use your name, don't you? And you raise money because of your profile." Really? Why would someone want to sponsor me? I'm not racing. Didn't quite get it. I said, "Well, just if you fancy it, let's give it a go." And he says, "Yeah, might be for something. What you got in mind?" I said, "I don't know." So it's the first conversation we've had. I don't know what to expect, but we can put some feelers out, and we put some word out through the media. And a lad called David Wong rung Carl and said, and David Wong, when Carl did Macau, I think years before, he rode a bike that David Wong had organised, so that's how they knew each other. And he said, "Carl, we have a project. We have a project with Petronas that you might be of interest. We want a road bike, and we need 150, and we've got to." And it was all this information to Carl. He's like, ring Boz. Fucking, I don't know what you're on about. And then Carl rang me and said, "Oh, there's some bloke's rung me, boss. David Wong, his name. He's from Malaysia. He's something to do with Petronas, and he wants to build a road bike." And I'm like, "What?" He says, "Yes, he's got this engine, and they want to build a road bike." He said, I says, "Sounds a bit dodgy, that, to Carl." He said, No, he seems genuine. He said, I raced with him. He's a genuine bloke, and he's running a British touring car team at the minute, trying British touring car.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, okay. Well, perhaps he's got a bit of..." So he rung me, and so I went to see him, and we chatted, and it's like, Jesus Christ. And what they'd got this. They had a partnership with Sauber.
Yes.
F1.
Yeah.
So, and what Petronas do and like to do is to put their best engineers into European projects, and one of them was the Sauber F1 project, and they had that, and so because they were title sponsor as well, Petronas, of the Sauber team, so they would have a special projects department for their engineers, And this was in the era when they were going from 2-stroke to 4-stroke in MotoGP, from Grand Prix to MotoGP. They decided, this was years before I was involved, that they'd build a MotoGP engine. But what they'd do, they'd take those 3 cylinders off the F1 Ferrari engine, because they've got to be fast, haven't they?
You think so?
And put them on this. So that's how it evolved from these 3. So, and the reason they've chose 3 is because on paper and all the calculations that these engineers do, a 3-cylinder is a better overall package, because it's got less cylinders. You can.
It's more compact.
Yeah, more
compact.
compact.
You can turn it around. We
can
make it more aerodynamic.
That's it. So this seemed the way to go. And what we'll do, we'll offer this engine to the MotoGP paddock, because not everyone was going to go 4-stroke. You Kennys and etc. Yeah. So they launched this thing at Sepang. Neil Mackenzie rode it, and Harris had built a frame for it, chassis. And they launched this thing. It did look ugly. Yeah, it was ugly, this thing they launched in Sepang. And it sounded fantastic because it's a 3-cylinder. But no one was interested. So, understandably, because it did look horrible. So, they're stuck with this engine they can't do anything with. David Wong knows about it, because he's the Petronas motorsport advisor.
Right, okay.
That's
so he's fully aware of the project. He
so
knows he's the guy.
Yeah, so he's got a plan to put this thing into World Superbike, because MotoGP don't want it, so let's go World Superbike. There is a problem with the fact that you've got to be homologated, but that's no problem. Petronas has got millions and millions of quid. They'll build 150 motorbikes, because that's what you need. Let's get on with that. So, what they didn't, so many things, so many bad decisions. But David Wong got a vision, an engine, a team, World Superbike, Carl Fogarty. That's what he wanted.
That's it. That's what he could see.
That's what he wanted. He didn't see the bits in the middle. So he got in touch with Foggy, like he did. Foggy got in touch with me. I went to see him. We sat down, and he said, "Well, we need a budget for this. Don't worry about the road bike, because shall I shut the dog up?"
No, it's fine.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Attention seeking. Worse than my wife. Sorry, Jane. Yeah, we had to put a budget together for the race team only. The road bike was a separate budget. So what do you want for a 6-year project, running 2 riders, 4 bikes, test team, and everything else? It's like, well, what do I want?
Where do you start?
Yeah, well, I remember I'd done my own thing with 250s. I'd done that 250 Red Bull project that didn't go ahead. I ran the so I'd got to.
So the basics were there.
I'd worked with Team Roberts and saw how they managed things. So I'd got to, it wasn't necessarily the best person for it, but I was probably. It's on paper I could do it. Yeah. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'd got the gig. I went back. There was a guy, Carl. In the meantime, I got in touch with a guy called Murray Treese, who was from British Telecoms. He was in the telecoms industry, but he was a CEO, and he had a business sense. He managed money, and he would endorse the project on a professional level for Petronas.
Yeah.
So he came in, and me and Murray sat and we did this budget. And Murray again, I guess Murray's input would have been the spreadsheet and the calculation. So I'm just reeling off everything we need. And I'm going through in my mind the years, and year one, huge investment, so we need more year one, and we're going to have to sign some handy guys, because this thing's going to be it's going to be the fastest thing in the world, and it will need some development, etc. So they're going to cost a fortune. They're going to be taking a risk with their career because it's unknown. So all this money, and when we finished, I says, how much that come to then, Murray? And he says, 20.5 million. In 6 years. It's 6 years. So I'm thinking, Jesus, that's a lot, isn't it? He says, is it, boss? Is it? I said, well. And then we look into it and go through it and trim it as best we can. And I'm saying, what I don't want it to do, I don't want them to scare them. It's one of those balance. You don't want to make it so it's hard for yourself when
especially
you
if
do
you don't
get
know
it.
what they're expecting.
You can't go back and say, I want some more. So you've got to get it right.
Yeah.
So anyway, David Wong, he's said, have you done it? Have you done it? Come on, we need to get this going. We haven't got any time. Because they want to race that year, 2002. They want to go race in 2002, which was never going to happen.
No.
But David Wong...
But that was his project, that was his drive for it, then so be it. It pushes things on, doesn't it?
And to a point, you know, if you'd said you're going to go in 2003, we wouldn't have probably been ready in 2003. So it was the right thing to do in that
almost
respect.
reverse psychology.
Yeah. So we'll go back. Go to Malaysia. I'm in the Mandarin Hotel opposite the. You know, it's like what's this about? You know, it's beautiful.
Here we go again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful hotel opposite the Petronas Towers, and then and I meet David Wong in the lobby, and we have something to eat, and he gets to go get the old laptop out and go through this, and he's going through everything. He's going through it. No. I'm thinking, oh no, it's took the piss there. It's too much. He goes down. And he's asking me loads of questions about how many people per rider, and we need a workshop. We need a beautiful workshop. We don't have a great workshop here. It's too small. We need hospitality. Where's the? And he goes. He gets water saw on spreadsheets. He goes all the way down there, about 6 pages times 2. 40.6 million was the final figure. And I'm like, and this is the day before we go to the 86th floor in the Petronas Towers, which is one below the president of Malaysia. You never get into that.
No.
And to present this project that they want to let go 40 million to do it.
Wow.
And this is the team.
That's incredible.
The actual road bike was another 150 odd million.
That's eye-watering figures, though, isn't it?
Separate project.
Don't you worry yourself about that, boss. You look after the race team.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And we had some conversations with the engineers, and by lunchtime, it was a done deal. So I go out at the meeting, and I'm ringing Foggy. I said, Foggy, you know what? I think this is going to happen. And he says, really, boss? And I says, yeah. And guess what, Foggy? It ain't 20 million. It's 40 million. It's dollars, by the way.
Yeah.
So not quite. And he says, "You're fucking kidding me, boss. Really? What? Well, I don't believe it, boss. I don't believe you. I'm not interested. I don't think it will happen."
Typical Foggy.
I said, okay. I went back in the meeting, and then eventually the letter of intent was printed out and signed by us all, and then I rang Foggy. He said, Foggy, it's happening. We've got a letter of intent now. It's all legal and everything. He said, unless I get £1 million in my bank account, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to sign anything. I'm not going to hand my notes in at Ducati. No press release, nothing, until I get £1 million in my account. All right, okay, Foggy. Yeah, let me see. I'll chat with David, see what he says. And I pulled David to one side. I said, "Look, David," says, "Foggy's all up for this, and it's Reno, but he's got that doubt, and he needs. I couldn't say. He needs £1 million basically into his account before he signs this contract, because they emailed him this contract, and he said, we can't do this now. This is in the evening now. We're all going for something to eat. Tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow." Okay. I said, "Well, I'm flying home first thing." "Well, it doesn't matter. Leave it with me, boss. I'll sort it." So I land in Manchester, and the next day, and I meet Foggy, and first thing he says is, "I've got my £1 million, boss." They'd done it while I was on the plane. They'd done it.
Wow.
So he'd got it.
They're the kind of people you want to deal with.
I know.
No messing about there.
Yeah. So I'm sat around the table then in Manchester, this hotel in Manchester. You've got Foggy and Michaela, right? lovely people, but don't know how to build a motorbike. You've got Murray Trees, who's a really brilliant businessman and amazing with figures, but doesn't know how to build a motorbike. And then you've got what was his name? I've got his name now, but he was a sports reporter for the Blackburn Echo. Oh. He's fairly high profile now. He's still Foggy's manager. Do you know?
Can't think who it was.
And they all look at me, understandably, and say, "What do we do now, boss?" And I'm kind of, again, another scenario where I'm out of my depth, thinking, I haven't got an answer for that, really, because it's just been a whirlwind, really. I was sucked, and I'm still with Red Bull Ducati. This season's still going.
You're still balancing that off as well?
Yeah, that's still happening. So it's like, I've got to tell Ben, I've got to put a team together. We're going racing in May. This is still the British Champion season for the year before, and there was one bloke I needed, if I could get him, would take a massive amount of pressure off, and that was his crew chief at Red Bull Ducati, Steve Thompson. Don't know if you know him, but Tomo, Spanner will know him. He is one of the best engineers I've ever worked with. Unbelievably clever man. But he wouldn't come. So, because he was loyal to Ben.
Right.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But in the end, Ben, it didn't happen. The team dissolved.
It folded after.
Folded, yeah. Yeah, so Tomo came on board. And Tomo said, well, I'm not going to... So the first thing I need is look at the engine. And I won't commit myself fully until I see the engine. And so... we got a flight to Switzerland, to Sauber, and the thing was, these guys knew nothing about it. So Sauber and this baby they've been working on for 3 years, and was still going to MotoGP in their minds, but we just done a deal in Malaysia for it to go for World Superbike, yeah. So we were the ones that had to let them know that. And they were really, really, understandably, standoffish. So we turned up, me and Tomo, don't know it's from Adam, saying, oh, yeah, we just come to look at this, they knew we were coming and everything, but can we do some dyno runs and figure it out, the weight and all that sort of stuff, and calculations and stuff. And no, they can't. This is a top secret engine, and there's no way you can be looking at this. And it was a standoff for about at least half a day, and there were emails and phone calls going back and forth, and eventually we were allowed to see it, and they were really pissed by this because this was a top secret baby that no one's going to. And we come along, two unknowns from Britain, to come and tell them that this ain't
by
going
the way,
to
we ain't doing this.
And they said it's impossible. So the conversations was difficult. And straight away they said, well, look, okay, if you've kind of convinced us that it's going World Superbike, but I think you'll have to change your mind because it's preheated oil, it's a high pressure water system, water cooling system, and you're not gonna be able to have that in a road bike. And you can't change as soon as you've got to redesign this engine for it to be homologated for that purpose.
Wow. So
it was a disaster
completely. And how much were they invested in at that point?
Well, yeah, it was millions of quids. So anyway, we eventually we'll get around that problem. Don't know how, but we'll get around it. Tomo's brilliant. I'm blagging it again. We spend 3 days there, and each day Foggy's ringing me saying, what's this engine like? Because Foggy's on board now.
Yeah, he's got this vision himself.
He's got his £1 million now. He wants to win the World Superbike. Yeah. he's already talking. I've got Corsa on. I think Corsa will do this. He's talking already about the riders. And we haven't got an engine.
Bike, they haven't got an engine, let alone a bike.
Yeah. So he says, So I said, I don't know yet, Foggy. Honestly, it's going to be a long 3 days, I think. Well, tell me as soon as you get. Anyway, we did dyno runs. We did all the things you needed to do, geometry, weight and distribution, all that sort of stuff, where it sits in the frame, all that. And Tomo wouldn't tell me anything. We go out for a meal in the night because the Sauber lads didn't want to join us for a meal. They're sick of us by then. And so we get on the eventually get on the plane. Foggy's ringing me every night, and I can't tell him anything. And I said, we sat on the plane, and I said, Tomo, look, I've got to tell Foggy when we go off the plane what we're up for. Surely you've had 3 days now. You must have some idea what the job is. He said, yeah. I think best thing to tell Foggy is the job's fucked. We're going to win nothing.
Oh.
And that was the case to a point. It was, and I could never have said that to Foggy.
No.
And Tomo knew that. I said, and by the time we'd landed, we'd got a plan to be able to do something that's going to be worthy of the investment. So
a lot of pressure with the investment as well. For it to perform.
Well, you say that. You see, this is where.
What was there?
You see, this is where not many people, but a lot of people. This is lost in time and the detail, I suppose. But we went back to Petronas after Tomo had put a drawing together and a calculation of performance and that sort of stuff. And he said, "We've got a problem. This is going to be probably a 6th, 7th, or 8th at the best place in a world superbike." And then, what? We'll be in the top 10? No, really? We're going to be that competitive?
Okay.
And then he said, "But we don't want to be competitive. That's not look. Here's our. We've worked this chart out for you. So, first thing on the board was data transfer. So, what their engineers would learn from they said this, the white man, we would take back and we would have more knowledge, and we would work with that knowledge. Second on the list was intellectual property. So, design and ownership of design. Then it was brand awareness, and then I think it was 6 things, and there wasn't a 7th. It wasn't performance related. Nothing. It was oil development was one.
Yeah.
To develop their own oil, which they've got now, Petronas lubricants, and associated products. So that was on the list. Performance wasn't there. It wasn't. And when we said that, because again,
you go racing to win. It's what with the conversation we had earlier. Maybe not in our first year, but.
Yeah, work towards it. They didn't, never. So if you go back and look at all the intellectual properties they signed up and registered, the oil now that's out there in the world, supply they've got of fuel of different oils for different bikes and different cars, that sort of stuff. The knowledge all the lads, the Malaysian lads learned from us. They've gone now. I'm still on Facebook with a few of them, and they're all really successful entrepreneurs and CEOs of various companies. Wow. So they've been, so it was I would disagree that it wasn't successful. It was very successful, but it didn't get the results.
How do you define success then?
Depends
from which end you look at it. But you're looking from a business perspective, it was hugely successful.
Hugely, made a fortune.
From a racing perspective, it felt like a bit of a white elephant at the time because there was so much investment in it. But when you look at it from their point of view, when they weren't racing to win, they were racing for development, for future knowledge. It was a huge success.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
It's just people forget that to a point. I'm not cared about intellectual properties for them or the oil they created. I wanted to win, like Tomo did, like Carl did, and Troy and James. They all wanted to win, and we bust our balls to do it. It was unfortunate for James to a point because it was the wrong time of his career, and he he was up against Troy Corser, which was he's an unbelievable talent, and also the rules changed in between when we started the project to when we entered the championship. It went to open cylinders, 1,000 cc.
Because we were speaking to Jack Val about this.
Oh yeah, because Jack took over from me.
Took over from you, didn't he? Mm. And he carried on that story. So Jack told the story last week as we sit here.
Oh, did it?
Now.
Okay.
So he told the story last week. So it's nice to get the beginning of the story. We've done the opposite way round.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jack told the end of the story in the episode last week. And now we're telling the start of the story this week, which is dovetailed quite nicely.
Yeah, good. Okay, yeah.
The one thing
it's talking about.
It absolutely needs to be out there. The one thing that I want to ask, and this comes from a few weeks ago with James Hayden's show. He doesn't speak particularly fondly about that time.
No, I get it, and I think James. I mean, James and myself have had a difficult relationship, I'd say, because when I was at the top of my career, James was at the start of his career, and we did race each other quite intensely at some point. And I was a target for James, which is understandable, and we had some big battles. Not so many battles. We had some big ones when we had them, and he'd crash a lot. So it was, but he was, he was fast. So I was at the top of my game, and I'd follow James into a corner and think, fucking hell, he's crashed. You can't go around that fast, and you can. So he dragged me on a bit, and this is this kid, who's come from nowhere. So I had so much time for him as how fast he was for his age. So, but we were against each other, so it was difficult. And then after that, I'd never had much to do with him really, because I moved away from the British scene. But then when we came together at the Petronas, I was over it by then by a long way, and I don't know whether James was or not, but. I think James felt we treated him differently, and I think there's a bit of truth behind that, but it wasn't intentional, and it was circumstances to a lot of the times. But he didn't take it well. I don't think there were things like, for example, he'd crash a lot, which didn't bear well with Foggy, because every time he crashed, it took his bonus away from him. Whatever's left in the budget, bonus. And he felt that Tomo was against him, because Tomo had worked with him in Red Bull.
Yeah, the year before.
Year before
you
I did it.
Yeah, 2000.
And I don't think Tomo had a lot of respect for James. And Tomo really, end of the day, was. I mean, I was the manager. But when it came to the team decision making regarding performance, Tomo was. I'm not going to question Tomo at all. And if Tomo wanted something, and Rob Mathewson as well, he was the dyno guy. Those lads wanted something, they got it. And despite what James wanted, or Troy to a point, but then Troy was the lead rider, only by. There wasn't a title lead rider, only by results. Troy could bang out a pole position on that thing, James couldn't. And despite James would have done James's head in, I think, because he felt that we weren't giving him a gooder engine as Troy.
That's his view.
And to a certain point, it's true, because the fucking engines were so. Different.
Yeah, it was so irregular for each time.
Yeah. We'd have to with dyno one, and it would it'd bang out probably 5 or 6 horsepower more than the next one. And who are you going to give it to?
That's right.
For me, thankfully, I didn't have to make that decision.
No.
Tomo made that decision, and if I didn't support it, I couldn't physically overrule him because he's putting the engine in. Unless I actually stand and watch him, I can't. They're all the same from the outside, aren't they?
Of course they do.
And they can fudge the figures.
They look the same to me.
Those lads were in control of how those bikes were set up.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be in a team. All the manager's there for is to sort out when things kick off and they want something.
Well, it's managing people, isn't it? The crew chief decides on the engines.
Of course they do, yeah.
Number that one. But we know that one's stronger. That's done that many miles. That's done this. So team manager should always be about people. For me.
Yeah, and I did try hard with James, and I find Troy was easy, but James was constantly as a not quite, I wouldn't say at his peak of his career, but on the way to his peak of his career, was desperate to get the best, and I understand that. But he made the decision to sign for a team that was developing an unknown quantity. And he was attracted by the salary.
Well, he openly says that this. It was. I thought it was just because he made a point of explaining that time of his career. It's nice to have the other side of it as well, because there's two sides to every story.
Of course there is,
and it's nice to be able to give you right of reply.
Yeah, I like
because
that.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's courteous.
Yeah.
It's courteous. James has said his part. You can say your part, and never the twain shall meet. But now, especially
you won't agree.
when it was on the podcast, it's nice to understand both sides of it.
Yeah, it was. Again, it was. I suppose I understand more so from James's side now than I did, because all we wanted was the to share, well, not share, give the best opportunity to the best rider, and James wasn't the best rider, and I'll he can't deny that.
No, against Troy Corser,
and he may say he would have been if he'd got Troy's engines, but it wasn't the case. The engines were so different, so little difference that it wouldn't have made, it wouldn't have given him a second or a second half lap that he wanted. And he needed it at that time.
Needed it at that time, didn't he? Yeah.
We wouldn't have given it him. And we would have been not doing the right job for Troy.
And it's not always about that, is it? Because you can have the faster engine, but then that then throws the setup out, so you've got to work again on the setup. So it's not a given that it's going to give you that extra time.
No. Because
there's so many variables involved with it.
On the subject of James, I think someone told me that he was on a podcast, not yours,
not mine,
that he'd actually threatened me with and was going to punch me.
Oh no, that's on mine.
Well, that is. I've got to say,
I didn't want to bring that up.
No, well, I've heard this and I want to defend this because I can swear on my life, my son's life, my wife's life, that James never did that. 100%. Because if he had have done, there would have been such an ugly scene in that garage that we'd have both lost our jobs, because no one would ever grab me and threaten me without me defending myself. So that's I want that clear, and I would like James to be face to face with me and say that what he says he's done, because it is absolute 100% false.
Thank you for clearing that up.
That's okay.
I wasn't expecting the conversation to go that way.
No, but the thing is, though, Dave,
that wasn't quite planned. That wasn't planned.
No,
That's as it's gone out.
I know that, and I'm glad, like you say, because that you can imagine. If you imagine, and that was, I think, I've not heard the conversation. I've not heard your or he said it before on another podcast. I've not heard it. I've just heard it's been repeated.
That might be on. Yes, it won't be the same, because I've not heard that. He's only ever done one before, and that was with Chrissy and Dom a couple of years ago.
Okay, but
that was a couple of years ago, and I guess we can be straight with the viewers and the listeners that this is actually Tuesday and James's episode goes out tomorrow, so you haven't heard it yet. I can't hoodwink my viewers and my listeners. James, as we sit here, it's March the 19th, and James goes out on March the 20th, which is tomorrow. So
that's
you'll
good.
hear that tomorrow.
It's the right timing then, because I can defend.
Yes, because it's not out in public, and then you're out 4 weeks after that. So as the listeners and viewers of this, it's now mid-April.
Yeah.
But as we're recording it, James's show goes out tomorrow. So you haven't even been preempted on this.
No. Okay.
By listening to it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Because I've wanted to. I've kind of let it go, but it's not a nice thing to hear.
No.
And especially when it didn't happen. So it's nice to be able to defend that.
This is one of those where I was unsure whether to broach the subject or not. Because
I'm glad you have.
No, thank you, boss.
I'm glad you have.
I'm not a big fan of conflict and stoking flames like we did with Glenn last week when I was sat with him. There was more that could be said, but I'm not Jeremy Paxman. Some accuse me of being a bit too vanilla, but it's how I do it.
The thing is that you can. I mean, Charlie was a bit controversial on his grid boards, wasn't he? We loved Charlie's grid boards because they were controversial.
Yeah.
But then it's probably got him into a bit of trouble, you know.
But he also explained it away beautifully on the podcast that he wasn't in the best place personally to do it.
Yeah,
his personal life was turmoil because of his relationship.
Absolutely. And his kids.
And the kids and all that gets involved with it. We all have
and when you're in that frame, which I've been in similar experience, where, you know, something so important in your life is going wrong, that someone's problem. I had it with Petronas. You know, some mechanic had got a problem with the 10mm spanner that he'd lost, and I've got a kid in intensive care that's, you know, probably not going to survive, and he's complaining to me. I'm almost telling him to fuck off, mate. You know, go and buy another one. You know, rather than moan at me because someone's nicked your 10mm.
There's a fiver.
And you know, and I get it that. In those circumstances, definitely. So this is a R&D project. This isn't a winning motorbike. We all may think it is and hope it is, but in reality, things are going to go wrong, and they're going to go wrong when, you know, more times than not. You know, Monza, 13 engines and 2 fires.
And it still didn't get much better when Big Jack took over. And they changed.
I mean, it was fundamentally.
It was flawed from the beginning.
Go back to Tomo's comment.
Yeah,
we'll win fuck all.
It was flawed from the beginning.
Yeah,
but what an experience!
Oh God, yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. It was, it was again another dream that, you know. Imagine if we got 40 million quid and I could go and set this race team up, you know.
It's just not going to happen these days. It's been part of, also it's part of racing history, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and the bike was beautiful.
Yeah,
you know,
it was, there's no question.
It was, I mean, we did what we did, you know, we had an aerodynamicist who was brilliant. He was from F1 and you know, he produced this beautiful looking motorbike. Because we said we had a design team, and we had an aerodynamicist, and normally they both want 180 of what each other wants. So, but we managed to get these two guys, these two teams, to work together to produce a really slippery motorbike that looked beautiful, and we got it.
And there you go.
So,
it was
beautiful.
Way.
Yeah, and I think that you know, the performance side of things was not on the radar for Petronas.
Fascinating way to end that out. That the performance wasn't a thing.
No.
I'll tell you what, we could talk for another 2 hours.
We got 2 hours.
We haven't got 2 hours because I have to be back up north for a live show with Ben for 7:30.
You're going to be.
In fact, I need to be there for 7 so I can get settled. This has been incredible. Are you sure you don't have a high car story? Well, I know you do. It's whether you want to share it or not, boss. Because you know the score. You know what it's like. We're going to end this on a high. You know what happens on my podcast. You've listened to enough of them.
I know.
Every
You know what?
first-time guest.
This has been the
I'm crossing my
biggest-
arms now and sitting
I know,
back.
yeah.
The body language is
defensive, aren't you?
I haven't done this for 2.5 hours while we've been sat.
You're pissed off now, aren't you? The thing is, I've obviously been listening to your podcasts and I've been thinking. I honestly haven't got a high cost. I've got a doom buggy story from on holiday in Cyprus. And it's not that. It's okay, but we went out, a few mates to Cyprus. In fact, we've been to Cyprus a few times. It was the time I got married, and so there's a lot of mates out there. We decided to go take the kids on one of these hire buggy things. I mean, there's about 6 of us in these buggies. The kids are with us and that. And under no circumstances are you allowed off-road. It's a doom buggy.
That's what it's built for.
Yeah, come on, mate, you know. Anyway, so we get out of sight of the hire company and we go off-road. And we're having a real good, loads of fun. And they're not very quick, these things. They're I don't want this, but anyway, we were revving the nuts off these things. And then my mate, who was in front of me, it just suddenly fired up, burning, on fire. And he didn't know. And the trouble is, I can't get close enough to tell him because the things are flat
smoking.
And it's lit, honestly, a big ball of flames, of smoke.
What?
And I'd never told him he could feel the heat. So we looked round and it was like, and he had to drag his kid out, turn it into the ditch because it was on the road, and jump out with the kid. And this thing, it just melted. A complete, just nothing left of it. And that's me.
Wow.
But
I think it was safe.
So yeah, we all survived it. But the thing was, the fire team, fire engines turned up and the ambulance turned up and everything to put this thing out. And it was just a molten mess on the floor.
Whereabouts was it?
Yeah.
Well.
So I'm sorry, Dave, to disappoint you on the high cost story.
Boz, you haven't disappointed me. This has been absolutely fascinating.
Good.
Thank you so much. We have to do this again.
There's another one because we've got Yamaha, haven't we, as well?
Yeah.
And with the Colin and
exactly
a bit of controversy there, and a bit of.
There's so much to go through. I think we could do this again in the summer.
Yeah,
because there's an awful lot more to talk about. The ladies and gentlemen listening and watching aren't aware of when you go into the commercial side, when you go into the race management with Yamaha and Dainese, and what you're doing now with the other companies and the bikes and with the manufacturers. Yeah. There's a huge amount more to go through.
All right, well, I'm up for another one day.
That's a good sign.
Water's free, isn't it? So limited investment.
Some council part. Let's do this again in the summer, boss, because I've thoroughly enjoyed that.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed reminiscing things that I'd forgotten about.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
we know that's a good. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Bosworth.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, boss. Thanks a lot, mate.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, brilliant.